The top 10 most useful rental Pokemon throughout the entirety of Pokemon Stadium. So you got to worry about the 4 main tournaments as well as the Gym Leader Castle. So even though Pinsir helped me kill that one guy's Chansey, he's not going to make the top 10 because that's literally all he did in the whole game. With that being said, I will give out an honorable mention, that being Ghastly, because Ghastly, I would argue, is literally the best Pokemon in the Petite Cup. You can show up to literally every single battle with Ghastly and he'll do just fine, if not wipe the whole floor with the opponent. Ghastly can also make some of these Pokemon just completely short circuit when they see them, like Lass's Eevee. That thing's one of the strongest Pokemon to deal with, but Ghastly literally just has to sit there and just stand there menacingly and you will auto-win. One more thing to kind of simplify this is I'm basically going to be imagining how good all these Pokemon are on R2, because R1 is much more, you know, forgiving and balanced for the rental Pokemon, but when you get to R2, you could tell you weren't supposed to be playing the game with rental Pokemon, so let's see who the best ones are for taking on this one-man Iditarod through hell. Number 10, Exeggutor. So, Exeggutor is basically the best Grass-type Pokemon in the whole game, for you and the enemy included. There's just not too many good Grass-type Pokemon. I swear half of them are Grass and Poison. He's the only Grass Psychic. That's pretty good typing in this generation. Exeggutor is very tanky on the special and defensive side, which not too many Pokemon can do for, you know, the rental dudes that we're working with. Exeggutor has pretty good moves in the Poke Cup and Gym Leader Castles. It's nice to have, but where he really shines is the Prime Cup. So this is his moveset for the Prime Cup. I want you to tell me why you think he's good in the Prime Cup. I have Lapras at number 9 for basically very similar reasons as Exeggutor. Lapras is just good literally throughout the whole game and then peaks in the Pika Cup. Lapras literally has 1 million health. Lapras also has a very strong stab Ice Beam in every single tournament. They also have Bubble Beam in every single tournament except the Poke Cup, where they actually have Solar Beam and Body Slam. In R2 of the Pika Cup, dude, I swear, there's only like 6 good Pokemon in the whole game. And Lapras, I would argue, is one of the most important ones because you kind of need them to defeat Fisher the very last battle. See, the way it works is if they pick Alakazam, just restart. But if they pick Dragonair, it's not a matter of, well, I don't know, maybe I'll leave it in the back, or I think I could find a better water type. No, you need Lapras' stab Ice Beam to kill it. It's not up for negotiation. So Lapras gets a lot of points for, you know, only doing the hardest battle of its entire life ever. So good job, Lapras. Number 8, Kadabra. So in this game, Kadabra is basically Alakazam, except it actually works. Look what they did to this guy. We all know Psychic type Pokemon using the Psychic attack is one of the most disgusting things in the whole game. It actually knows Psychic in all the tournaments where it's allowed, but in the Gym Leader Castle, it knows Psybeam, but it knows Thunder Wave. So funny enough, I actually use this Kadabra to 1v1 Sabrina's Alakazam. In R2, there's so many enemy Pokemon that have extremely strong physical moves, such as the most annoying one, Body Slam. Then you've got Hyper Beam. We have the famous Earthquake. Like, any of these moves will tickle Kadabra and he just evaporates into nothing. But you know who doesn't care about these super annoying moves such as Body Slam, Hyper Beam, a Wrap. Oh my god, Wrap. Gengar, number 7. The real way to use Gengar in this game is use him defensively, actually. You use Gengar to cheese the opponent. Obviously, if you don't like Gengar as much, you can substitute this for Haunter. I'm aware Haunter gets better moves. I personally prefer Gengar for the higher base stats. An excellent example of how to use Gengar is like when I fought Giovanni on R2. Giovanni, as we all know, will always pick Persian, who is the slashing machine of destruction. So I literally just brought Gengar just for that one singular Pokemon. Whenever you see like an auto win in Pokemon Stadium, you just have to take it. The fact that you can cheese, not a lot, but a decent amount of Pokemon in the game is a big deal because it's almost kind of like simplifying the whole battle. And also in the Poke Cup and Prime Cup, and those tournaments you can get continues. Gengar helps out a lot in certain battles where you don't have to worry about a Pokemon or two. Number 6 is Rhydon. Rhydon's job is just like Gengar's. It's basically just like a counter pick. It's a niche pick. So Rhydon isn't very extremely good against most of the cast, but man, when you see an electric type Pokemon, you're like, oh no, The enemy electric Pokemon that you see in this game are absolutely ferocious. And guess what literally the only weakness to electric Pokemon is? That's right, ground types. Rhydon kind of just simplifies things. You gotta be on the lookout because I could have sworn that Surge was the only one that had a Raichu that knew Surf. No, there's like 2 other people. The point is, for this spot, you just need a ground type Pokemon. Graveler. Graveler's good because it knows Rock Slide. I actually killed a Charizard one time with Graveler. Rhyhorn also knows Rock Slide. Dugtrio because it's fast. And the Pika Cup, your best ground type's Nidoking, right? So it's very nuanced. The main point is that you need a ground type to stop the crazy electric types. Number 5, Starmie. Starmie is perhaps the best water type in the game. It also knows Surf and Thunder in the Poké Cup, and then every other spot it knows Bubble Beam instead of Surf, which is fine too. So that is very good type coverage. It also has very good base stats. Starmie is just such a flexible pick that you can bring in, I swear, almost every single tournament, and it can do something. It can even wall other water types. So you just fire off 2 Thunders, boom, they're dead, assuming you don't miss. What does electric get stopped by? Like I said earlier, only ground types, and then water beats that. So it never really has a problem with anything except grass types. That's the only thing that can beat Starmie, you know, consistently. But you can easily counter grass types. Starmie can even eat up psychic attacks from psychic Pokemon because it's a psychic type. That's math. Number 4, Zapdos. Now I need to make this extremely crystal clear. Number 2, 3, and 4 I think are all about equal power levels. I think not only are 2, 3, and 4 about equal power levels, you're probably going to be using them together anyway. It's very close. Now I'm going to talk about Zapdos. Zapdos is literally one of the best in terms of overall consistent damage output. You literally just bring Zapdos in and then just press the electric move. It's easy. Zapdos might not be the best Pokemon to do it with, but he can actually still kill the grass type Pokemon because he knows Sky Attack, which is a very strong stab, you know, flying move. So really the only thing Zapdos would struggle with is like Rhydon and the other ground types. Now where Zapdos really shines is in the Poké Cup. He may actually have one of the best movesets in the whole entire game for the rental Pokemon. And for those 6v6 human battles, I do think Zapdos is in contention for the best Pokemon. He's just so strong. He knows Thunderbolt. He knows Thunder Wave. There's very, very little counterplay for Zapdos. That's why he shines in the Poké Cup. And in the Prime Cup in Gym Leader Castle, it's the same idea, except he doesn't have Thunder Wave. And instead, he knows my favorite move in the game, Thunder. I actually missed Thunder 6 times in a row. So obviously, this is pretty infuriating how you have to kind of roll the dice every single time. But on R2, you don't really have too many other options. You need a lot of damage if you want to win. And Zapdos has one of the highest specials, and I guess the good news is because it knows Thunder, it's going to be outputting even more damage than Thunderbolt, I suppose. I prefer Thunderbolt because I don't want to miss, but very strong damage. Good job, Zapdos. Number 3, Articuno. Now, I already know, everyone knows, Zapdos is literally better than Articuno in every single generation ever. I'm just talking the Pokemon Stadium rental. So why did I put Articuno as number 3? Articuno's job is the same as Zapdos. You just do a lot of damage and then don't die instantly. Zapdos is a little faster than Articuno, but Articuno is actually tankier, and I personally prefer that just because I swear everything's going to be outspeeding me anyway, regardless of who I pick. So it's just nice to be able to survive a couple more hits. And I do think Zapdos is way more useful than Articuno in the Poké Cup because, like I said, it knew Thunderbolt and Thunder Wave. I just like Articuno slightly more throughout the whole game just because in the Gym Leader Castle and Prime Cup, it knows Ice Beam. It knows Ice Beam everywhere, whereas Zapdos knew Thunder. So I'm just saying I prefer Articuno because I like the consistent, reliable damage. Stab Ice is nice coverage for most of the cast. I can get a freeze every now and then. I prefer that more rather than risking it for the biscuit. I prefer to have Articuno as my Ice Beam spammer just because its base stats are way better, other than, you know, Lapras having 1,000,000 health. And like I said, I just like to do damage and not really die because the problem is Lapras is very tanky, but they don't really do much damage. I mean, I hit a Dragonite one time with Ice Beam and it lived. I just found myself relying on Articuno a lot more than Zapdos on my playthrough. Number 2, Jolteon. Jolteon's job is literally the same exact thing as Zapdos. It just goes in there and clicks Thunder or Thunderbolt. What's funny is it actually knows Thunderbolt in the Poké Cup like Zapdos, and then in the Castle and Prime Cup, it knows Thunder like Zapdos too. So you can just pick whichever one you like more. And like I've said already, Jolteon, Articuno, and Zapdos, their spots are all interchangeable. So the reason why I ordered it the way I did is just because of team synergy. I thought to myself, if I could only pick 2 out of these 3, who would I pick? And I picked Jolteon and Articuno. So if you had to pick 2 out of the 3, you can't just bring Zapdos and Jolteon and not bring Articuno, because what do you do if you see a ground type? What do you do if you see Exeggutor? Articuno is literally one of the very few Pokemon in this game that can reliably defeat Exeggutor. So I was like, okay, well, I need to bring 1 electric and Articuno, and I chose Jolteon because if you simply start with Jolteon and, you know, they have most of the cast out there, you just simply stay in and click Thunderbolt, right? But if they have, let's say, Rhydon, you know what you do? You switch out and you go to Articuno and you're immune to the Earthquake, and then you click Ice Beam and kill it. What happens if you see Exeggutor? You switch out, you go to Articuno Ice Beam. What happens if you see any grass type? You switch out, you go to Articuno Ice Beam. And if you start with Zapdos and you see Rhydon, you can't just switch out into Articuno because the Rhydon's going to be using Rock Slide, and then it'll just insta-kill Articuno. Overall, if you literally just show up to the Poke Cup, Prime Cup, or Gym Leader Castle, you're probably going to be okay against most of these battles, right? These 3 work very well together, and they just do a lot of damage very reliably. I also really like Jolteon because Jolteon, even on R2, will outspeed most of the enemy Pokemon. But yeah, Electrode and Jolteon are pretty comparable Pokemon. I personally prefer Jolteon, and my trio of Jolteon, Zapdos, and Articuno I think are fantastic. I'm just going to throw out some last second honorable mentions right now. Electrode, I already explained why. Next is Moltres. I think Moltres is the best fire type Pokemon in this game. Moltres can miss Fire Blast, which I really hate, and I would rather bring, you know, Articuno simply, and then just bring, you know, Jolteon and Zapdos, and then bring some flexible counter picks like Gengar or whoever in the back, right? I don't really need to bring Moltres, although Moltres is a very strong Pokemon as well. Raichu's another honorable mention just because it did really good in the Pika Cup, which is a stupidly overpowered tournament, and knew Thunder, which I really hate, but it's a very strong stab attack. It also knew Thunder Wave, which is very important because all the enemy Pokemon are going to be faster than you, so you could use that as kind of like speed control. And a new Seismic Toss in case, you know, you wanted to get a free kill if they had 15 HP or less. And I think the last honorable mention is going to be Persian. Persian is really good at one thing and one thing only, and that's clicking Slash, and it does a really good job at it. And it also has Bubble Beam too to cover for any rock ground types like Rhydon. Persian slightly fell short of the top 10 just because it only knows Slash and Bubble Beam in only the Poke Cup. In the Prime Cup and Gym Leader Castle, it knows Hyper Beam and Double Edge. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? If you want to do the 6v6 human battles against other people, I do think Persian is an extremely strong pick. Easily one of the best in the game, up there with, like, you know, Kadabra and Zapdos. It's only kind of useful in the Poke Cup, and you don't even really need it there anyway, too. Number 1, Jynx. Jynx has almost the exact same moveset across the Poke Cup, Prime Cup, the Castle. Jynx has access to Ice Punch and Psychic, so you have 2 stab-type offensive moves, which very few Pokemon get in the game, and Ice and Psychic is extremely good coverage. There's very few Pokemon that can resist both, such as, like, Starmie or another Jynx. And, you know, just having an Ice move is funny because, you know, you get a 10% chance to freeze. And then you obviously have Psychic, which, you know, Psychic, Pokemon, Psychic, we already know how this goes. I think it can be easily overlooked, but because Jynx has, you know, a decent amount more HP and defense than Kadabra, it's just enough where Jynx doesn't get completely one-shot by literally every physical move in the game, but she can still get one-shot by a lot of moves. It just does so good against most of the cast that it's a very safe pick to put on your team. I think the reason why Jynx is specifically number 1 is, funny enough, it's actually because of Lovely Kiss, because in R2, there's a lot of these Pokemon that are just absolutely stupidly unfair to fight, and if Jynx can outspeed them and go for Lovely Kiss, it's not super reliable, but there is a chance you can literally defeat any and all Pokemon without even taking a hit. You just have to put them asleep, and then they just don't wake up the first turn, and then you ideally hit them with Psychic, maybe you'll get a special drop. Sometimes they stay asleep again. If they wake up, you just repeat over and over and over again until you can just simply take them out without having to use another Lovely Kiss. It's kind of crazy. Like, some of these Pokemon I absolutely despise fighting, like Hypno. Snorlax is another good example. You do need luck, obviously, with this Lovely Kiss strategy. If you think Zapdos or Jolteon or Electrode are good in this game, then it makes sense to put Jynx this high up because they all have to rely on Thunder, which is literally less accurate. Jynx can even do good against some other Psychic Pokemon, such as Slowbro, Hypno, and Exeggutor, just because they're slower, so she can just go and literally cheese them. To be fair, Pokemon in general general, like literally every single turn is luck based because you can miss moves. There's a million critical hits that happen anyway, so this whole Lovely Kiss thing has a lot of upside and not too much downside. There you have it. That's why I deem Jynx to be the queen of the rental Pokemon in Pokemon Stadium.